Hey everyone, thank you so much for registering for Wearable Treasures, Beach Rock Macrame. I want to show you what we're making. Your finished piece is going to be a pendant like this. It lets you take your beautiful beach stones and make them wearable. In your kit, you've got embroidery floss, 3 closed jump rings, 1 open jump ring, a keychain for displaying, 3 beach rocks of various size, but feel free to use your own. And you've got 1 chain for displaying as well. We're going to start the step-by-step process. To start, I just need the jump ring. I'm going to choose probably to use my largest beach stone. It's easy to start with your largest because your knots can be further apart. So I'm going to pick my largest stone. I'm going to clear all this away. And we're starting with our thread and our jump ring. So I've already cut my thread into 4 equal lengths. I'm going to take 1 piece of thread. I'm going to put my jump ring on the thread and move it to the center. So now I have my jump ring in the middle and the center of 1 piece of thread. I'm going to lay my other 3 pieces. Whoops. Let's get this back in the center. I'm going to lay my other pieces of thread in the center as well and just tie a simple knot. Overhand once, make it really secure, overhand again. And that was step 1. So now you can see I've got my jump ring, and now instead of 4 pieces of thread, I have 8. So jump ring and 8 pieces of thread equal length. Now we're going to put this guy to the side. Now we're going to spread them all out like a spider, just so we can kind of keep track of where all the threads are. The spreading of the thread is a little time consuming, but it's really important because once wires get crossed, it can kind of make a mess of your knots. This helps us see what we're doing in the project and what goes where. Get this all spread out. Take your time. These threads like to bunch together. We want them nice and smooth. We'll put this guy over here. There. So now I've got 8 pieces of thread. No, he wants to go over there. I've got 8 pieces of thread spread out from my jump ring. The reason this is important is because macrame is all about pairing. So we're going to start by joining pairs of threads. So you're going to have 4 pairs of 2, looking like that. And then we're going to do our very first knot. So to do your first knot, take your pair together, loop it around your finger, just a simple overhand knot like that. What I want to do though is make sure this knot is kind of close to my jump ring. If it gets too far out, the rock can slip out. To do that, you can see I've got my knot, and I'm just going to gently push it towards the jump ring, easing it in about 1/4 inch. Again, take your time. Boom. I've got my first knot done. I'm going to repeat that process 3 more times. Gently pushing that knot up. I want it the same distance as our first knot. Pull gently and secure it. Knot number 2 is done. Pushing my knot up nice and gently before I pull it. Make sure it's really close to my jump ring. And our last knot. pushing it up, and it's secure. So that's our first round of knotting. You can see I have 4 knots about equal distance away from my jump ring. Now I'm going to spread these out again so I can see all 8 strands. Just helps us visually kind of understand where we are. Takes a little time, but it's a good practice so we don't switch our cords. There. So I've got 4 knots. I spread my cords out again. We're going to do another series of knots, but this time we're going to switch partners. So these 2 cords are going to switch partners, and you're going to pair them up with the cord next to them. So you can see I have 4 new pairs. This cord separated, this cord separated, and here. So now I'm just going to do the same process with the new pairs. Slipping that knot nice and snug, about 1/8 of an inch from my first set of knots. There's 1 knot. Pushing that knot nice and gently up. That's 2 knots. Working to my 3rd newly matched pair. Taking both cords, making my knot, pushing it really gently up towards the knots. And secure. And then my last pair. Oh boy. I lost my pair. Sometimes that happens. You can kind of hold it up, find where your pair is. It's this guy and this guy. That's my last pair of this second round. Pushing it up and tying. So now I have 2 rounds of knots. What I like to do at this point is just slip my rock in. We're not done yet, but it gives us a good idea of how many more rounds of knots we'll need depending on the size of your rock. So you can see here, I've got a pretty big rock. For just 2 rounds, I'm probably going to need 1, at least 2, maybe 3 more rounds. So that kind of gives us a good idea of how many more we need to do, depending on the length of the rock. So I'm going to set my rock aside. We're going to do that same process where we open it up and spread all our thread out. So here we are again. We've got all of our 8 threads spread out. We're going to repair them. It gets more challenging the further we go down. The strings won't lay flat. They're kind of creating a pouch at this point. So it can be harder to match your pairs. A tip you could do, once you have everything spread out, when you match your new pairs, take a binder clip or something at home, clip them together while you're tying, and that way they'll stay together and as you work your way around. That's a good tip. But really the best tip is just take your time. It's a little bit of a time-consuming process. Sometimes if you switch your knots and you're kind of in a mess, the great thing about it is there's more thread. Cut your thread and start again. So this is the most challenging part, but we can do it. We're going to make a new pair here, a new pair here, a new pair here, and here. And now I'm just going to take my time and make my 3rd series of knots. And we're moving on to the 2nd. Gently pushing that knot up, making sure our holes are not too big. We don't want that rock falling out. And here it's my 3rd knot in this round. I've got my knot, just slowly pushing it up. And this is the last knot in this round. Making my overhand knot. Slowly pushing it up. And then when it's where I want it, just pull that knot. There we go. I think we can measure one more time. I think we still need one more round at least to make sure our rock is secure. You definitely don't want to skip the last one because that's where your rock is hanging. So if it's too big, so we just want one more to kind of get these bigger areas here together so that our rock doesn't slip out. But that's it. Then we're done. So let's put our rock aside. Go back to the work of separating our cords. Time consuming, but so worth it. And again, it's gotten even more challenging as our pouch has been created. This is not going to lay flat. It's not going to cooperate like that very first round we did. But we can just take our time. So I've got everything spread out here. I'll just double check to make sure. These guys are a little twisted. We'll get them nice and straight. And this is our last round. Let's break up our pairs, have them make new friends. You guys will go here. You'll go here. Let's get this guy. And you'll go here. So I've got my new pairs for the last round. And I really want to make sure this round is nice and secure because this is where our rock is sitting. So make that overhand knot. Gently push it in place. Now it's where I want it, and I'm just going to cinch it tight. That was my first one of this last round. This is my second one of the last round. Knot. Push it in place. Nice and gentle. And pull it secure. This is my 3rd knot in this last round. You can see too as you go along, the expanse gets bigger. That's why it's really important to finish up with a nice tight round. Keep that rock sturdy. We're going to push this guy. Whoop, up, up, up. There, and this is my last knot in the last round. There. In my hand, it looks like a mess of knots. But you can see we've created quite a nice house to nestle in our stone. This stone I found in Lake Michigan, and I scooped it up because it had just a little hole in it. It caught my eye when I was on the beach. I thought that's a special one. So I put it in my pocket. And now I can wear it around my neck. It takes a little bit of time and stretching. We really secured that last round. So we've got to kind of fit our rock in. And I'm going to position it so that special little hole kind of peeks through. My favorite part about this stone. Now we're going to secure it. To do this, you can see the finished piece here has a really nice tassel look. But before I tie that tassel, I want to do a knot to make sure it's secure. So I've got my 4 pairs hanging down. I'm going to pick the opposite pairs. And again, just another really simple knot. But this will tie it tight. So my special treasure stays in there. And then I'm going to repeat. I'm going to leave that kind of up. And then the opposite pairs again. Secure my special treasure. And make sure it's all tight at the bottom. Sometimes they want to slip up the rock. There. So I've got 2 knots at the end. You can leave it like that, but I think it looks much nicer if we tie a tassel. I'm going to put all my pairs together. 1 more overhand knot over our finger. And then very gently, we're going to try to cover up all those bottom knots with this big tassel knot. Just kind of sliding it up and up and pulling. That's my macrame. I'm going to grab my scissors. I'm going to cut my tassel. And that's our beach rock. You've got a couple options in your kit. You can take this open jump ring, put it through, loop it on your keychain. You can have mom or dad get a tool to help you close that jump ring, nice and secure. You can wear it on a keychain. You can also do 2 or 3 on your keychain if you wanted to clip it to a backpack. But you also have your chain. So if you wanted to wear this treasure, just slip it through. And there's your wearable treasure. I hope you guys had as much fun making these beach rock macrames as I did. If you're like me, you have buckets and buckets of beach rocks, and now you have something great to do with them. You can give them as gifts to your friends and your family so everybody can remember these wonderful beach trips.